What advice would you give to, say, a self-taught marketer or someone who wants to learn it? How would they bridge those knowledge gaps? You mentioned the experience. In addition to experience, how would you recommend they fill up those gaps?
Yeah, so there's various different courses, so face to face, and also there's more and more online courses. So, for instance, Chartered Institute of Marketing, you've got the
Hello, today we're going to be talking about navigating a career through marketing, where to start, how to select the role, and how to go about it. As always, here on the Laljee Digital Marketing Podcast, we have an expert who can tell us about their experiences, and I'd probably give you some advice on how you can go about navigating your own career in marketing. Without any further ado, let's introduce her.
Strategy, market research, email, marketing plan,
display ads,
PPC, content, social media, social ads, SEO. Welcome to the Laljee Digital Marketing Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Reeya Patel. Reeya is a marketer. She's been involved in doing contract marketing, freelance marketing. I've worked with her in the past. She's worked on many different companies and brands. In terms of today, we're here to talk about basically negotiating a career through marketing because yes, we know we're in a field that is in high demand. Yes, we know we're in a field that can make a big difference. And yes, we know that we're in a field that people can become marketers. I mean, it takes a bit of time, effort, experience, etc. In terms of yourself, do you want to give us an idea of how do you actually get into marketing in the first place?
so I've always enjoyed like writing and reading and I suppose meeting new people. And I think when you work in marketing, all of those things, working across marketing and comms for about 15, 16 years. And yeah, I've been working on an interim basis, mainly with contracts, and that happened by accident, to be honest. So yeah, that's my background really.
Oh, so when you first got your first marketing role, I mean, in terms of your background, were you a uni person or were you straight into the workplace or I don't know, sort of like apprenticeships were around back in the
No,
I mean, I don't know if about an answer, but they're only a few years old, really, but how
yeah.
did you, what was your, because I know you mentioned you liked reading, writing and stuff, but what was your, I suppose, for the want of a better word, qualification or your interest in marketing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I went to Sheffield Hallam and I did media with public relations. Public relations was, I suppose, the closest thing to journalism because I always wanted to have my own magazine and be a
Oh,
journalist. But then when I was qualified, I suppose the the space of PR was changing a lot, so it was dwindling. So obviously now PR is predominantly online. Yeah, I did media and PR. I really enjoyed it. And then after uni, I went to work at Barclays and I started off doing absolutely nothing to do with marketing and communications. And yeah, it started to destroy my soul a little bit. And I left and I started to work for a charity, so Age UK, and I had a full scope marketing role. And I learned a lot when you work for a charity, when you work for a not for profit. It's all hands on deck. So yeah, it was really great experience for me. I worked on some high profile campaigns, organise events, MPs, and yeah, all random
yeah.
tasks. So yeah, you probably understand that when you work in marketing. Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
You get some stories to tell. So
yeah, no, I think I had a similar experience. I moved into working with Tesco, which had nothing to do with marketing, but I ended up making myself quite comfortable in that role. But yeah, I can completely relate to that. And yeah, working with a charity it is all hands to the pump. I've done a lot of work with the MS Society and obviously the work I do with Positive about MS and other things. So yes, working for a charity is a different kettle of fish as well, because there's a passion as well, and you need to get things done. It's not about it is obviously about raising money and stuff, but it's not just about the bottom line and profits. It's about people, isn't it, and affecting lives. You can see that. So you started off at HUK, what was, I suppose, as you throw as proper marketing role. And
yeah.
how did you decide to negotiate your career then? We had a number of options. We can become what people refer to as a contractor, You can do freelancing. You can run your own business. You can be, I would say, a typical employee. I mean, that in a good way. You pay as you an employee. You do your 30, 40 hours a week or whatever it is, and you
Yeah.
kind of you paycheck at the end of the month. So, in terms of doing versus freelancers, employee, etc., which one did you like, and what I suppose anyone listening, what would be your experiences of what you went through?
So I've done all three. So I've been a contractor, I've worked on a freelance basis, and I've also been a permanent employee. Yeah, I suppose the benefit of working on a freelance basis or a contract basis is the fact that different clients, you can, I suppose, pick and choose a little bit more in terms of roles that you might want to take on, or I don't know, projects that you want to work on, different sort of specialist skills that you want to really hone and refine. And then, yeah, I suppose when you're an employee, I suppose there's less flexibility, but then at the same time, you have got a bit more security. So yeah, you've got your pension and you've got like a regular income coming in each month. So I suppose it allows you to plan and to look forward. Yeah, and obviously you've got your training as well, training opportunities. Yeah, I think it swings and roundabouts. So you can have a portfolio career basically.
So that's good. You've done contracting, you've done the freelancer, you've been an employee. And I really like that soundbite you gave. You said that you don't have the variety, but you have the security. And what you phrased it in a much better way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember how, but
When you're selecting one of these roles, how do you go about it? Is it just trying to do it a bit of this or trying to do it a bit of that? Or you said you want to hone in on a certain area you want to improve or do
yeah.
better. But what's the thought process about thinking about selecting a role?
I think when you're at the beginning of your career, some people have got quite definitive ideas of what they want to do, who they want to work with, what industries they want to work in. I don't think I did, to be honest. So keeping an open mind and just realizing that experience counts for a lot. You might work, for instance, in the charity industry and you might not enjoy it. But then at least after that contract or that role, you know that you don't like it and you know your reason for not enjoying it. But I think my advice to anyone starting out on their career or thinking of transitioning careers would be thinking about what areas you enjoy. Do you enjoy things like copywriting? Do you enjoy like number crunching? If so, then maybe looking at things like data analytics is more up your it's more the kind of thing that you want to go for. You might really enjoy social media and you might be able to keep up with all the sort of changes and the trends. Or you might prefer, like me, looking at strategy, putting a plan in place, and then obviously implementing that from a project management, campaign management perspective. And yeah, industries. So thinking about which industries you want to work in, so which industries interest you. So you might enjoy quite a fast paced, so FMCG type environment, so fast moving consumer goods. You might have an interest in fashion, education, and then other areas that are growing, things that probably didn't really exist as terms and industries that are very bright. Financial technology, so fintech, edutech, so education technology. These are all growing areas. So they're definitely worth, I suppose, looking into. But if you enjoy your role, if you enjoy and you've got an interest and a vested interest or passion in your role and in the industry that you're working in, it just makes it so much easier. And that passion and interest really come through in so many different ways. So yeah, that would be my advice really.
Okay, so just touching on a very related area. So what you're saying is because you know what it's like when you first get a job, you never get the job that you really, really want. And what I mean is, in your mind, you might be thinking, "Yeah, I can see myself self-produced, so nice, fancy office, dictating marketing strategy for the whole of Selfridges," and then you get a job, and plumbers merchants, so it's a marketing industry or something. And obviously, no disrespect to plumbers merchants, but it differs from what you had in your mind. So
Yeah.
even if I wanted to work in a particular industry, I might not get that role. And what I did like is that you were getting the role because it's what you wanted to do. But by the end of the role or midway through the role, you think, I actually like this type of marketing.
Yeah.
Like this, because marketing is such a huge area. How far in your career do you have to go where you can get the roles? Because you get to a certain point in your life where you can turn jobs down.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, like, how long does that process take for you to filter out and decide, I've worked out this is what I want to do? Is there a playbook for that or something?
No, I don't think there is. And I think for me, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But for other people leaving their apprenticeship or leaving uni or leaving school, they'll have quite a firm idea of what they want to do, what they like. But I will say that you might have one idea in your head, but when you're actually in that role, in that industry, you might think, you know what, I don't really like this. I'm not really enjoying this. It's not what I thought. I'm not happy. Yeah. So it's about keeping an open mind. And one thing that is always inevitable is change. The world is changing. It's like fintech, edutech. They didn't really exist in their own right a couple of years ago. But obviously now they do. So there's new technology, there's new trends, there's new requirements and roles that are emerging all the time. So if anyone is working in marketing and they want to put their feet up, and it's just not a slow paced environment. So anyone that does want to put their feet up, it's probably not the right industry for you.
Okay, so moving on to selecting your role. I know we've touched on this slightly, but how would you go about selecting a role? So I mean, for maybe people who are maybe starting a career, should they just take any job on offer? Should they be really picky about it? And because you mentioned experience before, and I like that because when I train people and talk to people and they talk about roles, and I said, listen, I do work for free in volunteer organizations and charities just to show I've got experience. But you can't actually choose because obviously that self-produced dream doesn't exist until you do the grassroots work and get your hands dirty and do the stuff that you need to do. So when it comes to selecting the role, what advice would you give to someone maybe selecting their first or some of the early roles in marketing?
Yeah, I would probably say that experience is worth its weight in gold. Whether you are doing a degree and you've got a year in industry, or whether you're on an apprenticeship and obviously you've got your work experience there. And even if you're not on either of those paths, why not reach out to an organization, whether it's a charity or a community group, or whether it's Tesco or Selfridges, and ask them if they've got any work experience, like shadowing, internship opportunities. So there's so many different organizations that do offer graduate opportunities and just opportunities for you to find out a little bit more about the role, about what you enjoy, what you're good at, areas that you want to look into. So yeah, I think experience counts for a lot, and it will help you to understand yourself and what you enjoy the most. And then I think it just comes back to, again, what are you interested in? Whether you are interested in things like social media, whether you prefer looking at content creation, whether you like tapping into the creative side, design. And then obviously thinking about those industries again. So which industries interest you? But I would definitely say that work experience is not always paid. And I definitely did some stints. So I worked in a PR agency for free, just for a couple of months. I probably wrote for the university newspaper as well. So I'm not sure whether those still exist to me. shows my age. But yeah, wrote for the university newspaper. What else? Did some volunteering with the charity, which 100% helped me to land that role at Age UK, which was my first marketing role. So
Oh,
you might think at the time that I'm not being paid for this, but things come back round. That experience was useful. It was useful for me in my role, but it also showed my employer that I was willing to learn, that I had relevant industry experience. So yeah, I think don't ever think that things are a waste of time, because sometimes it can be more of a, yeah, something that will benefit you in the future.
okay, that's good. I suppose we're both on the same page there. So definitely get your experience. It doesn't matter how you get it, whether it's whether you're volunteering for a charity, doing something for a volunteer group, or when you said whether it be Tesco or whoever it might be. So that's fair enough. And I suppose we both agree with that you need the experience in addition to whatever qualifications or knowledge you already have. The next question is, how do you approach it? Because it's easy enough to say, oh, just get some experience. I'll mention what I've done shortly. But how would you go about it as a person who's been there and done it? How do you actually get in touch with these companies? What do you actually do in real terms?
Yeah, so again, this is something that I did. So making speculative applications. For instance, I approached a charity and I asked them what opportunities they had for volunteer work. So I helped them to organise a fundraising event. So yeah, just making speculative applications.
So sorry, just to push your area. How did you get in touch? Did you email them? Did you ring them? Did you just turn up to the door? What did you actually do to get that experience? Is it for someone trying to get this foot in the door? Sometimes you can send emails, you can send messages on websites, and no one even gets in touch with you. You don't even know if they've
Yeah.
received it half the time. How did you actually ask them, if you like?
So I've worked in recruitment marketing and learned a lot from the
Oh,
recruiters.
okay.
Yeah, various different approaches, really. Maybe sending an email or sending a message via LinkedIn and then following it up with a phone call. So whether it might be that the afternoon, leaving it a couple of hours, it might be the day after or a couple of days after. Obviously, bearing in mind that everyone is quite busy. So you don't want to, I suppose, disturb people. But then at the same time, you want them to know that you're there, that you're interested. So yeah, so sending an email, following up with a phone call, networking is great. You might go to formal networking groups, but then I think the best way of having a chat with people is in an informal environment. So you might be out for a coffee and you might just bump into someone, just get chatting, and by all means, talk about what you're doing, talk about how you're looking for experience, what you enjoy doing. And you never know, because they might be able to signpost opportunities your way, and maybe not at that given time, but in the future.
So that's good. So what you're saying is drop them an email, maybe find out who the right person is on LinkedIn, send them a message, and then follow it up with a phone call. And so I suppose the key is do it and then follow it up, because that gives you a good chance.
Yeah. And I think if you have got experience, so you might have work, so a portfolio basically. So creating a digital portfolio is really worthwhile. I suppose having that and being able to share it via email, but also sharing it on your social media channels.
The idea of a digital portfolio makes sense because the days when you hold it in a folder and go around and kind of show it off. Or if you want to contact people, so let's just say you contact that person on LinkedIn, as you mentioned, not got in touch with them, you forget, you followed up the phone call, that's reminding them that you get in touch. Next question they're going to ask is, so what have you done? So that's where you provide your digital portfolio. What format does that? Is that a website? Is that as a PDF? How would you recommend doing that?
I think if you've got something interactive, so if you can almost, if you were having an online meeting, you could share your screen and then click through slides. That's always really effective. But if not, then yeah, a PDF. So you can obviously wing it off to them via email and they can have a look in their own time. And having a tailored approach. So, for instance, I really liked the idea of working for Proper Corn, so the popcorn brand.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I think I tailored my CV and I designed it to be very similar to their branding from a visual perspective.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, I sent that off to them using quite sort of similar language. So in terms of tone and words that they used within my CV. So I sent that off to them and followed it up with a phone call to them. So unfortunately, they didn't have any opportunities. So yeah, there's a bit of a mixed approach there. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, doing that CV, it took me a long time. And it helped me to learn that I'm not a designer. I'm definitely not a
No,
designer.
I was while you were saying, I was thinking to myself because these days I can tell. I'm not supposed to give a tip on what I do. It's like when I'm most people these days when they apply for jobs, they're just like apply, apply, apply because they've already got an uploaded covering letter, uploaded CV, and you just click and apply. When you said you've tailored it to this one particular job, it sounds easy,
Always.
but it takes hours, doesn't it? You have to change the wording. You have to. You're looking at this and looking for that. It's not an easy thing to do. I just think it's good that you've done it, but it's always frustrating from the
Yeah.
employer perspective. I hate it when people just send me an application. I clearly state must have experience in this industry, and then they'll just
Yeah.
apply and they've got no experience. So what I've done now is this is like me tip or mine. I don't know if it's a workaround or a cheat or something, but in my job description that I've given, at the bottom of the job description in capital letters, I'll write, when applying for this job, make sure on the first line of the covering letter you write a green parrot in the red beak. And it's
Yeah.
like completely random. So any application I get to with a covering letter that's titled or heading the first line, green parrot with a red beak, I know they read the job description rather
Right.
than just
Yeah.
apply, apply, apply. So when I get like maybe I think on the last job I did it a while back, I think I had 25 applications and only 2 of them said green parrot with a red beak. So I knew they'd actually read the job description and maybe wanted to
Wow.
work for my company rather than
Yeah.
just just apply for this marketing role. So but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
right. So hopefully that maybe gives people some insights on maybe how to approach people. In terms of other charities I worked with, like in the early days, just to get the experience, I think I went to the local charity shop in Creason and they said, I said, have you got a
Yeah.
Facebook page? And they went, Facebook page, but just a charity shop. And I said, oh, I'll set you one up for free. And they said,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, just kind of look at me in a really weird way. But for me, it was a big deal because I was setting up a charity page. I was setting up a Facebook ad account. I was doing all these things for them. And they were a recognized charity. They were just seeing themselves as a charity shop in Preston. But for me, it gave me a chance to answer real people's questions, put the time and date on there, check the things
Yeah.
okay, use logos, etc. And it's like you said, there's only a couple of months of
Yeah.
this experience. So when someone sees that, they'll say, oh, I didn't know he's working with charities. And when you do apply for jobs with
Yeah.
charities, to use your experience, to use your example, you did charity work, then you applied to Age UK, so obviously there must have been a correlation between the two, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. There was. And yeah, I think obviously it's nice to be able to, I suppose, to contribute your skills and your experience to helping, especially a charity, because budget is always an issue for charities. And also it's nice to be able to meet and work with different people. One of the benefits of working on a freelance or contract basis is the fact that you have to hit the ground running and you do learn, I think, at a faster rate because you have to turn your hand to various different skills. Because sometimes when you are in a permanent role, you can get a bit stagnant, you can get a bit comfortable, a bit lazy, and yeah, you might not have these opportunities to learn new skills and to put them into practice.
So at the risk of all employees messaging us to say why you call employees lazy, what you're saying is that when you're contracted or you're freelancing, they brought you in because they needed to do a job here and now. They don't have time
Yeah.
to embed you. They don't have time to train you. They'll give you the most essential information you need to do your job. But the freelancer era, you just come in for that short period of time to do that particular job that they want. Would that be
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, that's pretty realistic.
So, I suppose the next thing I'm talking about is, I mean, I've spoke to people like myself, and you've done some sort of marketing related work at university and used that as a stepping stone or springboard into marketing. These days, there's a lot of work around apprenticeships, and personally, I'm a big fan of them because it gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you the education side, it gives you the work experience, which we both say is vital. And they've also got the new emerging role, which has probably been around for a number of years, but thanks to YouTube and stuff, but is the self-taught marketer. I've
Yeah.
worked with a few self-taught marketers, and I have no problem with that. But I think there are skills gaps and knowledge gaps in places. What do you think? Can you be a self-taught marketer? Can you just go on YouTube and learn everything you need to from A to Z?
I think 100% no, you can't. No. I think there's certain areas that you can learn from other people, from whether it's a YouTube video or a TikTok video. But I think, again, it comes down to experience. And sometimes you need to have the theory behind that experience. So you need to understand why you do things in a certain way, why you might use LinkedIn instead of Instagram, for instance, for a particular client in a particular industry. So yeah, having that theory, but also having that experience, by all means, you can learn a lot on YouTube, online tutorials, for instance, but you need that experience to put those skills into practice. So that experience, it might be with one client, or it might be, I don't know, for half a day, for instance, but it will give you more confidence once you've got that experience.
Okay, that's good. I'd agree. I don't think you can be self-taught and know all about marketing. I think you can learn aspects of marketing, but I'm a big believer in fundamentals of marketing because you end up not making mistakes in the future because you know what the foundations are.
Yeah.
Because if you've got strong foundations, you can build anything on top of that. If you go straight to building the building and don't think about the foundations, it might look nice and pretty for a while, but the foundations are maybe going to let you down. But we live in a digital age. If people want to improve their lives, they want to move on with their careers, they want to have a change in their career, they should be absolutely allowed to do that. And yes, you can be self-taught. What advice would you give to, say, a self-taught marketer or someone who wants to learn it? How would they bridge those knowledge gaps? You mentioned the experience. In addition to experience, how would you recommend they fill those gaps?
Yeah, so there's various different courses, so face-to-face, and also there's more and more online courses. So for instance, Chartered Institute of Marketing, you've got the Digital Marketing Institute, I can't remember the official name. Yeah, so looking at accredited bodies, you might be able to do a course, I don't know, like the Google digital training. They're free, a lot of the courses, and they provide an excellent foundation and equip you with a lot of the skills that you'll need within marketing, a lot of the skills, a lot of the knowledge as well. So yeah, I think courses, yeah, like going on to webinars. So there's various different marketing meetup groups, listening to podcasts as well, reading blog articles. So it's really important to keep up with marketing news, different trends, different changes, changes in regulation. So, for instance, like PR, phasing out of third-party cookies. Yeah, all of these things impact us in marketing. So it's really important that you know about it.
Okay, so that's fair. So what you're saying is, yes, you can be a self-taught marketer, you can do online tutorials, YouTube, but top that up with real knowledge. And I suppose not real knowledge, but up-to-date knowledge. So like you mentioned, the Chartered Institute of Marketing has recognized qualifications. So maybe you're thinking, I'm not too sure about how to create a strategy. Maybe do a course related to strategy because you may know how to run, say, Facebook and Instagram or Meta ads as they're known now. But do you know why it's working? Is it trial and error?
Yeah.
If you've done the qualification to tell you how to learn marketing strategy, then when you Facebook or Instagram ads work, you're like, oh, now I understand why it's been working
Yeah.
because I've followed inadvertently, I've been following this particular strategy, or I've done this, or I've done that. So yeah, that makes sense. So I think, and I think what you mentioned there also about marketing news and information, that's really important because
Yeah.
the industry changes. Without mentioning very, I mean, without going into too many details, but obvious things like you can't advertise smoking on television, or you can't advertise certain products on certain mediums. And for those that obviously with, I suppose, hopefully the pandemic feels like a bit of history now, but during the pandemic, and maybe even now, you can't advertise face masks on Facebook. So there aren't rules, education, and legal obligations that you need to know about, because otherwise you're going to come across as inexperienced or uninformed, or even worse, people end up getting their accounts banned. Now I suppose you're at a stage where you know your stuff. You've been through the stage where you're going through the different roles to work out what you like the best. You're working through the different industries to understand which industries that you're more comfortable with. I suppose, where are you now in your career? Which opportunities do you look for? And is it very focused on a particular type of marketing or a certain aspect of marketing?
Yeah, so I tend to focus on things like strategy, but yeah, it can take a lot of trial and error to get to that point. So I suppose my advice to anyone who is starting out on their career or transitioning would be to, yeah, to have a play around, to experiment, to try your hand at various different things, different roles, different opportunities. But yeah, have fun with it. It's really important to have fun. Otherwise, there's absolutely no point.
I think you get to a point now where you need to enjoy what you're doing. So these days, mental health, well-being, enjoying your job is very, very important.
I think there's a lot of people that are leaving school, leaving uni, or leaving their apprenticeship, and they've got quite a definitive idea as to what they want to do, which is great for them. Kudos to them. But I think just being aware that changes. It definitely changes as you navigate your career, as you get older. Life happens, various different things happen, different curveballs get thrown.
My final question is more of an easier one. What's your favorite area of marketing? What do you like to work in now?
So probably again focusing on content strategy. Really enjoy looking at brand. I've done various rebrands and brand development projects. And then in terms of industries, I'm quite interested in working with brands and organizations that are focusing on the technology behind health. So whether those are health apps or health services, also education, so the technology behind education, so edutech. And also, I think with the rising cost of living, more and more people are going to need support, or they need support at the moment with their finances, with money management. So there's a lot of education, there's a lot of awareness that is needed, and whether that comes through technology or various other sort of formats. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what would you like to go into? Would you go into freelancing, contracting, or being an employee? What's your say after all these years? Is there any particular favorite type of employment you prefer?
I think, yeah, I'm quite open, to be honest. I think it just depends on the opportunity.
Good, good stuff. Well, yeah, thank you for coming along today. It's been really informative. Really appreciate your time, and I'm sure those listening will have got quite a lot of value from that. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Yeah, anything else you'd like to add or say?
No, I think just yeah, just get out there and yeah, just get connecting with people. Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself as well as, I suppose, yeah, the bigger world out there.
And definitely echo that you do learn a lot about yourselves in a good way and a bad way. And you know what you like and you know what you're good at, I suppose. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, Reeya. Really appreciate it. And speak to you soon. Take care.
Okay, thanks.
You've been listening to the Laljee Digital Marketing Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and remember to follow to learn about our latest content.